Craving a kebab? Wish there was a Turkish nearby? Let's just make it at home. I feel like chicken tonight, like chicken shawarma tonight. Chicken shawarmas. You know, we all know them from the kebab house. We know them from the Turkish, but let's make them at home. The flatbreads are made with all ingredients you probably already have in your cupboard. This is just leftovers from what's in the fridge. And this guy, well, again, he's just a little bit of what you may have laying around. The chicken shawarma is just delicious. We're gonna make this guy at home. It's super simple. It's really not that labor intensive. It just takes a little bit of time, but my God, are the results worth it. This thing is freaking delicious. Get it in your belly. Let's learn how to make it, shall we? If you stick around towards the end, you'll find out how to make it look like this, like it really has just come straight off the spit. Let's come along on the chicken shawarma journey. The chicken shawarma, the kebab. I mean, the million names it has. The ingredients, what we need to do, what we need to get together, and how we need to get it done. Pittery flatbreads, and we need to marinate the chicken. The salads and stuff that are going with it, they're easy, we can do them later. The things that are gonna take the longest is obviously the bread and the chicken. Now, the chicken, I mean, I say it always, if you can be bothered, do it the night before, because you will have stellar results. But if you cannot, it doesn't matter. We'll make the dough first, and we'll marinate the chicken, and then for the hour that it takes for the dough to rise, the chicken will have had an hour marinating, and that's good enough for me. Something's better than nothing, right? What I love about these pita breads is that pita bread, flatbreads, you'll sort of see when we cook them how they come out. They puff up a little bit. I mean, if you were able to cook them in like a pizza oven, they'd really puff up and it would be great. But we don't all have pizza ovens, so we'll just cook them in the pan and they'll still be absolutely delicious. Really simple. 4 ingredients: flour, salt, yeast, and olive oil. That is all. Nothing else, nothing fancy, and also great because you'll often have all of this in your cupboard at home all the time. So, you know, even if you weren't making them for this dish, you could just make them anyway, because I tell you what, they're so yum. I love them. So we'll get them going. Flour, we've got 200 grams of flour. If you're in the States, I think it's like 1 1/3 cups. So 200 grams of flour. We'll go for half a teaspoon of salt. And again, really important, you know, bread, you gotta season it because, you know, there's nothing else going in it apart from when maybe you put butter on it or something like that. But otherwise, this is all the salt that's seasoning that flour. So, you know, kind of think about the quantity of this flour to the amount of salt. We'll just mix that together, just so that salt is all distributed in the flour. And then a tablespoon of olive oil, so just a little glug. Add that. And then we need the yeast. So I'm gonna use instant yeast. If you had fresh yeast, great, but this stuff's pretty good. You know, the only thing is you gotta watch out for is if you've had it in the cupboard for a while, it can like not react properly. So I'll show you in a minute what it should kind of start to look like. Yeah, and then we're just gonna add that and we'll mix it together. So the water needs to be tepid, you know, kind of warm, probably about 35 degrees if you had a little probe, which are really super handy, but if you didn't, you know, it's about blood, it's just kind of over blood temperature in your finger. So here's my warm water here, and as I put it in, I can feel that there's a slight difference, but it's not burning the end of my finger. And we need 140 to 145 grams of water. I say that because, again, if you've ever seen me making bread, it's very dependent on the weather. You know, if it's super humid, you might need a little bit less. If it's really dry, you might need a little bit more. So between 40 and 45 grams of, 140 and 145 grams of water, somewhere in about that space. And then don't forget, we've talked about this one before too, make sure you tear your scales, because there's nothing worse than just adding it on and not knowing what number you were at. So we need about 3 grams of instant yeast. So there we go. Oh, I mean, I've got 4, but whatever. 1 gram extra, not the end of the world. And then gonna mix that together and let it sit for just 1 minute. And the little granules of yeast will start to dissolve. And you can kind of see that the water, let me pour this in a glass. And as you can see here, the water has gone cloudy. It's gone cloudy from the yeast. So that just starts to dissolve, and yeah, we'll just give that a minute and then we can add it to the dough. So So this has had 1 minute or so, and as you can see, it's nearly all dissolved, it's milky, and yeah, we're good to go. So we're gonna pour it in, and we're gonna start mixing it together. I like to just kind of start in the middle, make a little well, and start to bring it together. Add that last little bit. As you can see here, I have left a tiny bit in the bottom because I just don't know how wet or how dry this dough is going to be, but you'll soon start to feel as you bring it together, and I reckon we can add that last little bit. And just start bringing it together. And I always like to have a little bit of flour here just in case I need to, because if it starts to stick once I start to knead it on the counter, it's just annoying when you've got stuff all over your fingers and then you have to try and get some out the bag because there's no one around to help you. So it's always good to have that pre-prepared. Just tip that out. And then we'll just bring it together, give it a little knead, try and get all them bits off so that they can get incorporated. And as you can see, it is just a tiny little bit wet, so I am just going to put a smidge of flour on the counter, bring it together, give it a knead. Yeah, see, it's just a little bit here on my hand. What's also really good with flour is that you can just put a little bit extra on your hands and just rub it together and you get all them bits off, so now you don't have any on there. And then this we can just gather up and finish kneading. You do want this dough to be quite soft, like with a little bit of hydration, because, you know, with a little bit of hydration means you get some little air bubbles, which means you get a little bit of extra rise. So we only need to knead this for a few minutes because as this is resting, we're going to go back to it every now and again and give it a little slap and a fold. So it doesn't need to be perfect, which is the joy of this recipe. We don't need to spend hours and hours kneading it. So that's it, like that. I'm just going to pop it in the bowl, and then in 15 minutes, we're going to have a look at it and give it a little fold again. And we don't even need to tip it out onto the side. We can do that in the bowl and we're good to go. So I'm going to cover it up with a cloth, put it somewhere warm, set a timer, and in 15 minutes, we'll have a look at it. All right, so the pittas, we've got them working. That took us all of 5 minutes. Now, marinate the chicken. This is also going to take us all of 5 minutes. And essentially, that's all the prep done for this. We then just have to wait and we're going to cook it at the end. Once you finish the pitta, get your chicken working, so at least then it can have about an hour's marinating. And this is so simple. We're not even going to cut the chicken up at this stage. We're going to leave it whole and we're going to marinate it and then we're going to cook it. So the dough that I've made is probably enough to make 4 pittas, and then I've got 4 chicken breasts here. You know, there's going to be leftovers. It's going to be great in the sandwich the next day. But what I would suggest is that you just do a quick check to make sure you've got all your bones out. And that was it, just a little bit left in there. Always good to do that because then, you know, you don't worry about coming across a bone when you're eating it. If you don't know how to debone a chicken, you can just have a little look. I've added a link to one of my videos up there. It's a great way to save yourself a little bit of cash. And that's it. So these guys into a bowl. So the chicken's in the bowl. Easy as. And then what I would say with this is be heavy-handed with the spices. You want to get loads of flavour in there pretty quick, and you know, loads of spice equals loads of flavour, and it's just, you know, the more you put in there, the more you're going to get out of it. It also, you know, the more extra things that you add, the more you're going to get out of it. So I'm going to add a couple of cloves of garlic. Easy way to do it. Grate it so that way you don't have to chop it up, and it's all nice and pureed. I'm also going to add the zest and the juice of 1 lemon, and this is great as well because this is about, you know, giving the chicken a little bit of extra stuff to tenderize it. So this and the yogurt will add to a good bit of tenderizing. So I add that in, and the juice. And then again, generous with the salt and pepper. So lots of pepper, good bit of salt, and then this is just about what spices you like and what you've got in the cupboard. I'm going to go for some chili powder, bit of turmeric, I've got some smoked paprika. I've got a little bit of allspice, which is, you know, again, it's kind of a little bit spicy, that little bit Middle Eastern-y kind of flavour, just a background hint of kind of cloves and a bit of cinnamon and a bit of nutmeg. And they're just, you know, they all kind of blend together and they just give this nice warmth in the background. As you can see here, I've added it all and there is quite a lot of spice in there, but there's 4 chickens and we want to make sure that it's got a good amount of stuff on it. And it's just really important because that's all flavour. And then finally, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of yogurt. And then we just mix it all together. Get your hand in there, give it a good smush. We've mixed it all together. I'm going to put some cling film on it and put it in the fridge. That's it, chicken done. All we have to do is cook it. Super simple, really tasty, great dinner that really doesn't take a lot of effort. And like I said, I mean, if you can be bothered to marinate this in the morning, it's going to be even quicker when it comes around to it. All you're going to have to do is make the pittas. So this is our dough. It's had 15 minutes, and as you can see, it's really like come together. It's quite different from what it was like when we put it. I mean, look how soft that is. It's just lovely. So that's it. We're just going to give it a few folds. And back into the bowl. See you in 15. So that's the first 15 minutes. The pitta / flatbread is working, the chicken shawarma is marinating, and then the only other thing that we need to do is get the bits ready that are going to go with it when we plate it up. Now, you don't have to do that now, but you know me, I like to have a little bit of my mise en place ready to go. So I'm going to prepare a few things that are going to go into the wrap when it's finished. If you were making this Greek vibes, you could maybe chuck in some chips in the air fryer, because tell you what, that would be banging. You know, you can kind of make it Turkish vibes, and we can put in there like some shredded cabbage and, you know, even if you had some like pickled peppers, like, you know, kind of like proper spicy chilies pickled, that would be banging. You know, we're gonna make like a garlicky, ranchy, yummy sauce. I mean, whatever you've got and whatever you like to have in it, that's what this is all about, what you like. So I'm just going to give you a few ideas. I'm just going to prep a little bit of stuff and then have that ready to go. And then once I finish that, it will be time to give the pitta another turn. So the things that I'm going to put in it, not very inspiring, but it's what I had in the fridge. So I've got a little, very little end of the iceberg lettuce. So we're going to have some shredded lettuce, a little bit of carrot, I think, because why not? I've got one and he's getting a bit bendy, so he needs to be used. Some homemade pickles, they're gonna go on at the end. A little bit of red onion. I had this weird bit of cabbage that was left over from something, so I'm gonna shred that up too, because it will just be all yummy together. And then I've got a little bit of avo, but what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna make like a little bit of sauce, because you could go cucumber tzatziki vibes if you really wanted, but I've got a bit of avo, a bit of yogurt, and I'm just gonna like smash it all together, and that's gonna be our dressing. So I'm just gonna chop all these things up, put them on a plate, and they can go in the fridge too. Oh, and actually, I got a little bit of tomato, so he can go in too. I know that I'm gonna be putting some pickled onions on the top, but I also thought a little bit of raw red onion is also banging. And I've got the end here of the iceberg. As you can see, I'm slicing it all like really thin, because I just feel like that's what you get when you go to the kebab house. It's like this thin salad that's kind of crisp and crunchy, but not like really big in your mouth. So, you know, the thinner the better. Probably only going to use a little bit of this carrot. And this one, I'm just going to cut it into strips. Just like that. Probably eat this bit right now. See, that carrot looked floppy, but it's still crunchy in the middle. And then this guy, shred them up too. And then that's kind of my salad. You know, break it all up, mix it all together. Oh my God, it even smells like being in the kebab house. I think it's like the raw onion, you know, it just like kind of has that, it has that smell. Anyway, I pop that on a plate, and then I'm just gonna get a little bit of that tomato. He can go on there too. And why not use up this sad bit of cucumber? He can go on there. And that's it, that's your salad prepared and ready to go. So we'll give the dough another little turn because that's what it needs. This can go into the fridge, and then we're gonna make the avo kind of sauce that's gonna go on it. And then it'll be time to cook this bad boy. So here's the dough, that's another 15 minutes later. And you know, you can even just do it in here. So give it a little slap, give it a little fold. Oh my God, I mean, like, it's incredible. Look at that now. We've got a spring back and it just looks amazing. So this has still got another 15 minutes of resting, and then it's time to roll it out and cook them. All right, and so for the avo cremery kind of thing that I'm gonna make for it, just because I thought that would be delicious and something a little bit different, not just your basic bitch tzatziki. This is just, again, I'm making this because I had an avocado, I had some random herbs left over, and I had a little bit more yogurt, and I just thought this would just be a really nice little extra. This is also great for like tacos, it's great for sandwiches, it's great for essentially absolutely anything. Also right now, this is definitely going to show my age, and probably you'll only know this if maybe you're from the UK, but when I was younger, I used to watch a program called, I think it was called like Watch with Mother or something, or Learn with Mother, I don't know, I was like really young when I watched it, but they always used to have absolutely all of their things set up when they used to make like paper lanterns. I'm pretty sure I made a bazillion of them, but I always used to set myself up with the same thing. I needed like my ruler, and I needed my scissors, and you know, it served me well into later life because this is generally how I end up doing things. These are all the items that I'm gonna need for this dish, and here they all are, ready to go. So thanks, Watch with Mother. I think that's what it was called. Anyway, so yeah, there's a weird insight into Del's world. Anyway, the avo crema. So, avocado. I don't think this is going to be great on the inside. It's been bashing around in my fridge for a little while, but you know, we'll see. Oh my God, I mean, absolutely disaster. That is literally 101 what you don't want an avo to look like. So good job, I'm using it up. I mean, again, you can be as fussy or not fussy as you like. I'm still only probably going to use about half this avocado because or maybe I'm not. Oh, this is a sad avo. Oh, I'm sorry, avocado, that I let you get here. Oh God, it's awful. It's awful. This is a sad day in the avocado world. Oh, this side's much better. Here we go. So, just take that out. Smush it all down. So as you can see, you've kind of already got like a bit of a sauce, and the yogurt is just going to loosen it up, as is the lime juice. So that bit there. Oh, I haven't got salt and pepper. 1 second. So some salt and some pepper. I'm going to add the zest of the lime and the juice. And also what's really good with this is that the juice stops the avocado from going brown. And the juice also is making it a little bit looser, so it's a bit more sauce-like. And then here I've got a little bit of coriander and a little bit of dill. You know, whatever you've got. If you've got some parsley knocking around, if you've got some chives, great. This, again, was solely because I just so happened to have this in the fridge, and I thought, you know what? This will all be yum. So in it goes. And then a couple of good dollops of yogurt. Mix that all together. And there you go. You've kind of got something a little bit different, but still absolutely delicious. Like I said, a bit different, just like absolutely yum. Oh my God. That's gonna be absolutely great on top. Because it's like nice and zingy and fresh, so it's gonna cut through the kind of richness of the chicken. What we're going to do is get the chicken in. So this is going to take, 15-20 minutes until it's cooked. You can do this under the grill if you wish. You can also do it in the oven, but my preference is this guy because it's just like quick. Like I said, you don't have to heat up the whole oven to do it, and I just think you get a better cook in here because it's just hotter in a smaller space. All right, so I've just given the pitta their last turn, and we're gonna get the chicken cooking. It's probably going to take 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to put it in the air fryer. We're going to do it at 180, and we're going to get some nice like crispy bits on the top. It's going to be nice and juicy in the middle. What I would suggest is maybe that you put a little bit of a kind of interior so that the stuff doesn't go everywhere, because it will be a bit of a mess, because obviously we've got yogurt and juice and lemon and all them things in there. If you have one of them snazzy little air fryer baskets, this would be a great use for it, because even for the second portion of what we need to do, it will just keep all the juice but also make it crisp. So we're going to put it in the air fryer, we're going to get it cooking, but what we'll do, at about 10 minutes, we'll have a look, see how it's going. We might need to turn it over if they're getting a bit too dark on top, but otherwise we'll just let them cook, and you know, they're just going to be super juicy. So let's get them in, and then when they're finished their initial cook, we can roll out the flatbready pitters and get them cooked, and then bring it all together. Yeah, this is going to be banging. So we're going to get the chicken in, and we'll check back in 15 minutes and make sure it's doing all right. And like I said, what we're going to do, we're just going to make a little basket like this inside, so that the stuff doesn't go absolutely everywhere, and you know, it's just going to keep it a little bit more contained. So I do only have 4 chicken breasts, so I want to try and keep them as flat as possible. Oh my God, it already smells like so delicious. So yeah, you kind of want to keep them as flat as you can, because this way then they're going to cook evenly, and also they're going to have a good chance to like crisp up on the top. So that's going to go in. Let's go 175, and then we'll have a look in 10 minutes. So I'm just going to set it for 10 minutes, and then we'll have a look. Oh, it started at 15, but we're going to do 10. See you in 10. So the dough is done. I've tipped it out onto a floured surface, a little bit over the top. As you can see, it is a very soft dough, which is just great, because like I said, it's gonna, oh my God, it's just gonna create these lovely little pockets of joy. This is enough for 4, so I'm just gonna cut it into 4 pieces. Yeah, just give it a little dusting. You don't want the rolling pin to stick. I'm just gonna roll these out. Maybe a little bit more. Just be careful. Like I said, the dough is quite a wet dough, so you just want to be careful that it doesn't stick. And now this is where it's up to you. So I'm going to go more flatbread, and I'll show you that. But we can also go slightly more pitta. They're just a little bit harder to cook in the pan, because obviously they're a little bit thicker. So we'll do one of each. And then for the pitta, something a little bit more like that. But this one, we're just going to have to cook on a slightly lower temperature than this one. This one is it's going to take minutes to cook. This one is going to take a little bit longer, because we need to do it in the pan and cook it slowly, because that dough needs to cook on the inside. You know, you can either go nice and thin and cook them super quick, or you can go a little bit thicker, and hopefully we're going to get a nice big puff. It could also all go horribly wrong and I don't get the puff, which, you know, that's cooking, right? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see how this one goes. But I know for sure, as a flatbread like this, it's going to cook quickly and simply, and it's just going to be like really soft and great. And you know what's awesome about this? You could like double the recipe, make all of them, and put like 4 in the freezer, so that you've got 4 for another time, so you don't have to worry about making this when you really want chicken frickin' shawarma. You know, you can even stretch them with your hands a little bit. It's a soft dough. You can even stretch it out, a bit like pizza dough, right? Who wants to see a pizza dough recipe? A bit like that. There you go. You got a nice flatbread that's not totally flat. It's still got some good air pockets in it, and they're gonna puff up. So now all we need to do is get them on the stove and give them a cook. So now to cook the flatbreads, we're going to get the pan nice and hot on the stove, and I will put a tiny little bit of oil, because that will help. As you can see, it's all running away, and Oh, I don't know whether you can hear that in the background. So I live in New Zealand, and that siren right there is to call the emergency services, as we don't have any in our town. So if this ever goes off, it's the volunteer brigade that's being called out. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, get a pan, nice and hot, and we've got our flatbreads here. So I'm gonna pop this guy in. As you can hear, there's a little bit of a sizzle, which is what we want. As you can see here on the edges, it's starting to bubble, and let me see if I get a little bit closer. And what we're going to do is just cook them in the pan like this. And once they've started to bubble like this, we'll give them maybe 1 more minute on that side, and then we're going to flip it over and cook it on the other side. Put it on a cooling rack and let it cool, and then we'll continue and do the others. You just have to be careful that if you do it a little bit thicker, that obviously that dough is going to need a little bit longer to cook, which in turn will mean it needs to be in a slightly cooler pan perhaps. This is on a medium to low heat, so as you can see there, it's bubbling, and that's what we want. It means it's cooking on the underside. There's a nice big bubble there. And then we're gonna give it a flip over. As you can see, it's cooked on that side. It's not black because the pan wasn't boiling hot. And again, these little bubbles are starting to appear on the underside, which is the underside cooking. So we'll just give that another few minutes in the pan, and that'll be done. This is also the first one, so the pan may not have been quite hot enough. We'll see on the next one when we put it in how quickly it goes. This is why I kind of like to make these into flatbreads as opposed to like pittas, because they just cook a lot quicker. The bubbles are starting to appear on the top, which means it's cooking underneath, and then we're just going to turn it over. This one was really nice and thin, so it's only going to take maybe 2 or 3 minutes to cook. Look at them bubbles on the top. Yee-wee! See, the pan was just a little bit hotter this time, which means it's bubbled up a little bit more. And actually this one is turning into more of a pitta. That's it, bubbling up, which proves to you it doesn't matter how thin or how thick you do it. Oh yeah, this one is looking great. You know what this would also be wicked for? If you made a curry, this could be a really cool naan bread. That little bit of oil giving the dough a little bit of caramelization. Okay, so here we are. This is the first 10 minutes. It's been at 170 and it's starting to get nice and golden and looking great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them over so that the other side can get a little bit of action. They're still very much not cooked, but that's okay. So we're going to do that. Oh my God, this already smells like absolutely incredible. Be prepared to have like a proper, you know, assault of the old like smells, because it's friggin' banging. So this is going to go back in. I'm now going to turn it up to 185 and we're going to put it back in for 15 minutes. And then we're going to check and see if the chicken is done or not. It might need another 5, but this is where we just need to keep an eye on it. So it's going back in for 15 minutes at 185. Okay, so these have just come out the air fryer. They've had their extra 15 minutes at 185. As you can see here on the top, they're starting to go crispy and golden, which is just what we want. But what we're going to do now is slice them up, pop them back in the air fryer. So I have, with my trusty probe, checked the temperature and we're about 68. So really, chicken, you want it to be at like 72, 74. So we've still got a couple of degrees to go before it's fully cooked, but that's okay because we're going to put it back in for about another 6 or 7 minutes and we're going to turn it up to like 200 and we're going to get loads of these crispy, crunchy, delicious bits on the top, and that is what makes it just like going to the kebab house, you know, when they slither off all the bits off the big boy. Yeah, so that's what we want, that's what we're going for, and that's how we're going to do it. So we're going to slice it up, pop it back into the tray, because in here we've got loads of that really yummy juice, so that's also going to keep it moist underneath and we're going to get crispy on top. So we're just going to slice it up and add it back in. Obviously, as you can see, it's steaming because it's super hot, so you can just use something Oh my God, I mean, look at that. Look at that. That is freaking next level. Yeah, yup. And then, like I said, this is about to get even better because we're gonna get loads of them crispy, yummy, crunchy, freaking banging bits on top. Oh my God. I mean, I'm just gonna try a little bit now because you know me, I love a little bit of food. This is gonna be incredible. Okay, let's get it in. Let's turn it up to 200 for 7 minutes. Our pitters are done, and we're gonna plate this bad boy up and get into it, because I tell you what, I am hungry. And the smell of this is driving me crazy. You can see it's like super moist and super delicious. Honestly, this thing is gonna be absolutely insane. So we're gonna get it in 200. And we're going to put it in for about 7 minutes. Fucking see you then. Fucking see you then. Oh my God, and I'm going to have everything ready to go, and we're going to plate this bad boy up and chow down on some yummy kebab. Or shawarma, or gyro, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, let's fucking get into it. Sorry, excuse my language. Let's get into it. And that's it. Chicken shawarma, get in my belly. Yee-wee. And as you can see there on top, we've got lovely, crispy, crunchy, delicious, like it's been shaved off the big old thing at the kebab house. God, I mean, this is just great. Oh, I mean, how yum does this look? And there it is, chicken shawarma in the air fryer, made by you at home. Your homemade flatbreads, homemade chicken, delicious dip, yummy salad. Now it's just to taste this thing. So we've got our flatbread, and as you can see, this is like super nice and supple, like they're lovely. It's really nice to bother to make your own. We're gonna get some of that. We'll get a little bit of this chicken. He's getting in there too. We're gonna get some of our kebab house salad. Oh my God, this thing is going to be freaking delicious. And then a little bit of avo for something a little bit different. Oh my God, this thing is friggin' massive, but I'm just going to go all in. Oh my God, honestly, next level. Like I said, you know what would be banging with this? A little side of some chippies in the air fryer. That would also be yum, but the chicken has a little bit of that crust from being in the air fryer, which makes it crisp and crunchy. That avo is super yum because it's like tangy from the lime, and the salad, well, the salad's just crisp and exactly what you always want. Get some of these in your belly, man. Honestly, if you like this kind of content, please let me know in the comments section down below, and I'll continue to make some delicious air-fried recipes. Not just air-fried, but you know, I'm going to continue to make some yummy food just for you guys. I just love home cooking. Anyway, I'm going to eat my lunch. I'll see you guys next week. Laters.